यूनान मिस्र रोमा सब मिट गए जहां से, अब भी मगर है बाकी नामो निशां हमारा। कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, सदियों रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जमा हमारा। Almost all the anchoring scripts for Independence or Republic Day of every institution, schools and colleges have these inspiring lines by Muhammad Iqbal. And when these lines are spoken from the mic, it fills our heart with immense emotion of nationalism and patriotism. We get goosebumps and feel proud of being an Indian. The same feeling arises when we listen to patriotic song and see men and women, boys and girls dancing on these songs carrying a traditional Indian costume. Many of us go shopping, buy t-shirts, ribbons, tags, bands, etc. with Indian flag for these special days. We wish everyone happy Independence or Republic Day, and our bright face with a big genuine smile represents our belief in prosperous, free and developing India. On this very day, we look only at the brighter side of India and loves everything that positively represents our motherland.
भारत माता की! भारत माता की! भारत माता की!
But how long does this feeling exist? Well, just for few hours. Let me present you the next scenario. We glorify English speakers and discourage the use of regional language. We go for shopping, buy t-shirts with American or British flag as merchandises with Indian flag seems weird, isn't it? We call people wearing traditional dresses as Bhaiya ji or Behan ji. We feel shame in keeping shikha. We look scornfully at the people visiting temple and think that visiting churches is modernity. We keep dog as a hallmark of modernity and believe that keeping a cow is rustic.
एक बार मैं हिथ्रो में अभी नहीं 4-5 साल पहले हिथ्रो एयरपोर्ट में थी। मैं सलवार कमीज पहनी थी और बिजनेस क्लास का टिकट था मेरे पास। वो क्यू में खड़ी थी। उनको लगा इफ यू वेयर साड़ी, आप साड़ी पहन लिया तो, नहीं तो सलवार कमीज पहन लिया तो ये दीदी है, बहन जी है। इंग्लिश में बोलना शुरू किया। अरे कैटल क्लास लोग है, कैटल क्लास।
Namaskar. I'm not here to humiliate you and do deeply apologize from the depth of my heart if unintentionally I do so. There is something wrong with the script. Pardon? Let's start again. Namaskar. It doesn't concern me for this discussion whether you feel humiliated or enlightened. Neither I establish my apology nor I want any credit if I succeed in expanding the horizons of your narrow perception. Those who want may duly skip, but those who choose to remain here, I heartily welcome you to this highly sensitive but increasingly relevant discussion on the disrespect and humiliation faced by those who choose to remain traditional in this modern India.
2.5%, 0.6% higher than last year. Okay. I love the fact that India is growing.
Right.
India, with its rich heritage and diverse culture, has always been a land where traditions are deeply rooted in everyday life. From the language we speak to the clothes we wear and even the food we eat form a crucial part of our identity. I'm talking about the identity of we the people of India. Yet in today's rapidly modernizing society, people those who choose to remain traditional often face ridicule, discrimination and even outright humiliation. My question, ladies and gentlemen, here is why it is that in country as diverse as India, where traditions are supposed to be respected, being traditional can sometimes feels like a burden. Well, to answer this, let's explore. To understand why traditional Indians face disrespect and humiliation, we need to look at when this shift in attitude began. The seeds were likely sown in the colonial era when British rule imposed Western values and system on Indian society. English became the language of administration and education, and Western customs were considered superior. Post-independence, India sought to modernize rapidly, looking at the West as a model for progress. I repeat, we started looking at the West as a model for progress. Isn't it a shame and irony that we, the people of India, idolize West, who looted us, cheated us, and dragged us into extreme poverty? To hell with such ideology.
Staying with India, between 15 and 29 million Indians died of starvation in British-induced famines. The most famous example, of course, was the Great Bengal Famine during the Second World War, when 4 million people died because Winston Churchill deliberately, as a matter of written minuted policy, proceeded to divert essential supplies from civilians in Bengal to sturdy Tommies and Europeans as reserve stockpiles. He said that the starvation of anyway underfed Bengalis mattered much less than that of sturdy Greeks. This is Churchill's actual quote. And when conscience-stricken British officials wrote to him, pointing out that people were dying because of this decision, he peevishly wrote in the margins of the file, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?" And no wonder that the sun never set on the British Empire, because even God couldn't trust the English in the dark.
As India globalized and urbanized in the late 20th and early 21st century, these Western influences intensified. A growing middle class aspired to adopt what they perceived as a more modern way of life, one that often involved moving away from traditional practices. What was once seen as a progress gradually morphed into a kind of cultural divide where westernized lifestyle were glorified and traditional ones were increasingly seen as backward or outdated. Now many of you will comment, "This is a process of adoption, you idiot fellow." Well, the problem isn't just the adoption, but the attitude that accompanied it. The belief that being modern meant rejecting tradition, and there is a difference between voluntary adoption and compulsive adoption. Let me explain. Voluntary adoption is when individuals choose to integrate modern or Western elements into their life while still maintaining a connection to their traditional roots. For example, someone might wear Western clothes at work but still dress traditionally at home, for family gatherings or for festivals. This choice, ladies and gentlemen, reflects the individual's desire to blend the best of both the worlds. Compulsive adoption is when individuals feel pressure to abandon their tradition in order to fit in. This pressure may come from the society, from peers, or from the family members who believe that modernizing means discarding the old ways. In many urban settings, young people are made to believe that they must speak English, dress in Western attire, and adopt Western customs in order to be accepted or respected. Ladies and gentlemen, this compulsive adoption is where the problem lies. It's not about embracing the new ideas or practices, but being forced to do so at the cost of one's own cultural identity. And when people are made to feel ashamed of their tradition, there lies a deep sense of loss and alienation. In this video, I shall discuss with you 3 areas of concern that are the language, clothing, and food habit. So let's begin. Language is one of the most powerful makers of the identity, and in India, the linguistic diversity is immense. Yet many traditional speakers face discrimination in this modern setting. English, seen as a language of elite and educated, often overshadow regional languages. In urban schools, children who speak Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, or any other regional language at home are sometimes ridiculed or discouraged from using their mother tongue. This is particularly true in professional settings where proficiency in English is often equated with competence. Those who prefer their regional language are considered less capable. The irony here is stark. India, with 22 official languages and hundreds of dialects, often disrespect its own linguistic heritage. This linguistic discrimination not only alienates people from their roots, but also perpetuates a sense of inferiority among those who are deeply connected to their mother tongue. And above all, ladies and gentlemen, the simple fact that we need to understand is language is just a medium of expression. Just a medium of expression. I wonder how long will it take that we accept it? Well, let's move further. Another area where traditional Indians often face discrimination is clothing. Traditional Indian attire, whether it is sari, kurta pajama or dhoti, is not just clothing. It is a symbol of cultural pride and identity. However, in many urban and professional environments, these traditional garments are often looked down upon. For instance, in corporate office, Western business attire like suits and tie are considered the norms, while those who choose to wear traditional clothing may be seen as less professional or old-fashioned.
Bengaluru's GT World Mall, which recently denied entry to a farmer because he appeared to have been wearing a dhoti. But this had become a huge issue, a discussion point about does the mall have the authority to deny entry to who they deem fit, or was this a discriminatory practice depending on only the dress code on what was worn?
It seems like some parts of the country continue to reel under the colonial hangover. In a shocking incident, a man was prevented from entering a mall for wearing a dhoti. The friend of the man claimed that he was dressed respectfully, yet the mall officials prohibited him upon looking at his traditional Indian dress.
This bias is not just limited to the workplace. Even in social settings, people wearing traditional dresses might be stereotyped as being conservative, rigid, or out of touch with modernity. This discrimination, ladies and gentlemen, forces many Indians to adopt Western attire, Western clothing, not out of preference, but to avoid judgments and exclusion. It creates an environment where people feel they must sacrifice their cultural identity to be taken seriously. Let me tell you an incident. Few years back, when I was teaching at school, I called a parent and asked her why she never comes to school to attend parents-teachers meeting. Her reply shook me from within, and I felt my failure as a teacher. She said, and I quote, "My son feels embarrassing to take me to school. He says all other parents come in jeans, top and other Western clothes, but you only wear sari. My classmate calls me gawar and make fun of me." Well, the discrimination isn't limited just to the context of clothing, but also extends to the food habit and the way we eat.
Essentially, everybody everywhere has always used their hands when it comes to eating, and even today we all eat with our hands. Eating with a knife and fork was only brought to us by the upper class British.
Indian food is best eaten with the hand. Imagine using a fork and spoon to eat a dosa or a chapati. I mean, it's just not the same.
I think we ascribe eating with hands with respecting that food more and appreciating that food more. So it's like maa ke haath ka khana, you would have it with your hands.
Food is another crucial aspect of culture, and unfortunately, it's also a source of discrimination. Traditional Indian cuisines are incredibly diverse with their deep roots in regional cultures. However, as Western food chains and fast food became more prevalent, the traditional Indian food habits are often dismissed as unhealthy, outdated, or even inferior. For example, vegetarianism, which is deeply rooted practice in many Indian communities, is often ridiculed in cosmopolitan circles, where eating meat and consuming alcohol is considered more modern or cool. Similarly, traditional meals like dal roti are often viewed as mundane or boring as compared to pizzas, burgers, and pastas. This food-based discrimination can lead to the feeling of embarrassment and shame, especially among the younger generation who might feel pressured to conform to these modern food habits at the cost of their traditional dietary practices. And one thing more, I don't understand what's wrong if someone uses his hand to eat his food instead of fork, knife and spoon. Obviously, eating with hands is unhygienic, and eating with spoon at a restaurant which might have been used by hundreds of people is hygienic, isn't it? I recommend you to visit any school and observe students during their lunch break. You will discover that the students who bring chapatis often face embarrassment. And there is no end to it. Once you start researching and start talking to people, you come across various other forms of discrimination, and that too at extreme level. Now the question that arises here is, ladies and gentlemen, who is responsible for such state of affairs?
This is why you're a joke. Indian people are a joke. Look at this nasty. Look at that. What are you even? Jungly. Dirty. Dirty. You're disgusting. Shame on you. You were the ones when the East India Company came. You were the ones to kneel first. Your people were the ones to put your head down.
Well, there is no single answer to it. Media plays a significant role in often glorifying the Western lifestyle while portraying the traditional practices as outdated. Educational institutions which emphasize English and Western knowledge system over regional languages and traditional wisdom also contribute to this bias. Moreover, societal attitudes, especially among urban middle class, have shifted towards equating modernity with westernization. Peer pressure both in educational and professional settings further escalates this issue, making it difficult for individuals to proudly embrace their traditions without facing ridicule or exclusion. However, it's essential to recognize that this is not just about the external pressure. There is also an internalized sense of inferiority among many Indians who, having been exposed to Western norms through education and media, begin to view their own culture, as lesser. And you know what's the problem with middle class person like me? Well, there is a saying that goes like Adhijal Gadari Chalkat Jai. We never understood that the thoughts and acts of the people define their character and their worth, not how fancy they are. Now it's my ethical responsibility to discuss what is the way out of it. How can we get rid of such absurd behavior towards tradition and culture? The $1,000,000 question is, what can we do about it? How can we create a society where traditions and modernity coexist without one diminishing the other? Well, the key lies in sustainable approach. The sustainable approach that values and respects the tradition and culture while being open to the modern or global ideas. This means recognizing that adopting modern practices doesn't require abandoning our own cultural roots. It doesn't mean that we must sacrifice our cultural identity. For example, schools and workplaces can promote bilingualism, encouraging the use of both English and regional languages. Fashion can become more inclusive by celebrating traditional attire along with Western styles. Food can be diversified where traditional and modern cuisines are both appreciated and enjoyed. And remember this, beauty lies in the amalgamation of numerous traditions in our life which we abstain from experiencing because of our unfair ideology. It's also crucial to challenge the internalized bias that equate modernity with westernization. Education system, media, public discourses should focus on fostering pride in Indian culture while also encouraging a critical, open-minded engagement with global ideas. The disrespect and humiliation faced by traditional Indians are not just about the external pressure of modernity, but are also about the internal struggles of identity in this rapidly changing world. However, being traditional doesn't mean being stuck to the past. It means carrying forward the wisdom, values, culture, and practices that have stood the test of time. It's about being rooted in one's identity while being open to the world. A world that should respect diversity and embrace tradition as a source of strength, not weakness. As we move forward, let's strive to create a society where traditions and modernity are not at odds, but are seen as complementary forces that together enrich our lives. It's time to end the discrimination and celebrate the full spectrum of what it means to be a true Indian in this modern world. If you are still here, thank you so much for being a part of this important discussion. If you found this talk insightful, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Also, I would love to hear your experiences. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. I humbly request, ladies and gentlemen, to post your feedback so that we could improve. Until next time, stay proud of who you are and never forget where you come from. Stay blessed, stay aware, and thank you for being with us.